Hey everybody, Hayden here. Up until recently, this has been the computer that I've been using for everything, video editing, gaming, streaming, but it's time to say goodbye to her and say hello to the new one. But before we do, we're going to run through a few of the specs and see what this one was capable of, and then I'll show you the new one. Roll the intro. Alrighty, thanks for joining us today. So today's going to be a bit of a different video. We're going to do a bit of a breakdown of gear and technology, and we're going to show you this computer that I've been using for ages, and then I'll introduce the new computer, which if you follow me on Instagram, which you should, you'll have already seen a couple little snippets of it. But let's have a quick look and see what this one is all about. Alright, I'm going to go a bit handheld with this one so we can get in close and I can show you all the bits and pieces of this current computer. I've also got my helper Olive in the background because she's wanting to stay inside. It's cold weather outside, it's raining, and she's a bit miserable, so she's going to be in the background. So this is my, we're real close. This is my old case here. So this is a, I can't even remember the name of the company who makes the case because I didn't actually build this one. It's a Stormtrooper case, and I never really had a name for this computer, so we're going to call it Stormtrooper. This fella was running an i9 processor using a Corsair AIO cooler, so there's a little radiator up top, looking really dirty actually. Man, I've never cleaned this thing. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 sticks of DDR4, what's that, 4 gigabyte sticks I think they were. Yeah, because we only had 16 gigs. We used to have 32. The whole thing was filled with RAM when I first got it, but then a lot of them actually started dying and corrupting the memory, so I had to pull out the bad ones so that the rest of the system kept on running like somewhat normal. Here is the ancient graphics card. That was one of the big reasons why when I was gaming and streaming we were having some issues. This is an old NVIDIA GTX 780 Ti, bit of an old school one there, but you know, it still works. It's just for modern gaming it's struggling a little bit. We've got a Thermaltake 700 watt power supply down here with kind of messy cable management because this one is not a modular power supply. For those who don't know, modular power supplies are the ones where you can pull out the cables that you're not using, so you have less. So say with my new build, I have no SSDs, no hard drives, so I don't need to run cables for them. So instead of having a whole bunch of cables sitting in the bottom of the case not doing anything, now they're gone. What else? There is a little SSD drive here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 2 terabyte hard drives in there, and yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. It is quite a sizable case. I'll chuck it on scales. We'll see how much this weighs. I know it's a bit. Hello, Olive. Okay, so we'll turn on the scales. We'll put this sucker on. Nice and easy. Okay, so it's 11.5 kilos. Nice sizable fella, this one. Okay, I've also just plugged it into power, and I'll show you what the volume of this thing is like. You notice all the little lights are all sort of coming on inside there, looking all cool. This case is kind of noisy. I don't know how well the mic will pick it up, but this is the volume level of my old case. So all things considered, it's not too bad, but because I know what the new case sounds like, I know that it's going to be a lot different. Again, don't know how well the mic will pick it up, but let's have a look and I'll go grab out our new computer. Alright, so now I've showed you this computer, a bit of the physical hardware, what it can do. Before I show you the new one, which is sitting just over there, We ran a benchmarking test on this one using 3D Mark, which is a fairly decent stress test and benchmarking test that you can get on the computer. I ran it on the Time Thief. I gone blank. I can't think what the name of the test was. But I ran that benchmarking test, and this fella here scored somewhere around 3,500 points, which on the scale and the leaderboard, that is sort of equivalent to a low-end 2020 laptop. This thing, that's like the size of a frickin' skyscraper. It's about the same as the laptop that's built these days. That's how underpowered and underwhelming this fella is. But without further ado, I got to be careful, I don't want to drop him. Say hello to my new friend. Oh man, there's so much glare on him. That's better. This is Project Magma. Now, I know what you're thinking. Big size difference between these two. You'd think, the bigger the computer, the better it would be, right? Wrong. That is not the case. This fella here far exceeds the old Stormtrooper case. The reason I called this fella Magma, if it wasn't obvious by the little video that I just posted and just showed you then, it's basically just because of all the lighting on it. It's a nice warm orange. It looks like magma colors, which is ironic because this computer runs extremely cool, and I'm giving it a name like Magma, which makes you think it's hot, but it's not. Oh well. Let me show you a few of the cool things inside it. So, sitting behind, oh hello, oh have a look, it's the HeyHayden, the Focus. Behind the AIO cooler here, we've got a AMD 3900 XT processor. Yeah, that's one. Connected up to an NZXT Kraken AIO cooler with some stock fans on it. These fans will be getting replaced because they are way too noisy. The whole build of this case, I want it to be a stealthy, silent build. This is failing me here, so I've already got some new fans in the mail. I was hoping they were going to be here by today, but they're not. So just pretend that they look quieter. On the front here, we've got a couple of 140mm Be Quiet fans and one 140mm Be Quiet on the back as an exhaust. Both these fellas here, 120mm NZXT fans, which are drawing air up and out to vent heat out the top as well. The centerpiece of this build is the Gigabyte RTX 3070 Super graphics card, which is an absolute beauty. Now, I'm an OCD freak and I really hate how these cables kind of just look running there. And there's also a couple just there that look a bit meh. I could have gone and bought the proper sleeve kits for them, but I didn't really think about it at the time. Maybe I'll touch it up in the future, I don't know. We've also got here these cool little G-Skill RAM sticks. Each one of those is 16 gigabytes, so totaling 32 gigs of RAM. It's the G-Skill Sniper. Look at this cool, come on focus, cool sort of white and black digital camo look on it. Very cool. Everything in this case I wanted to be super minimalistic. You can see by the size comparison, this thing is tiny compared to the other case. Much smaller. You've also got those two cool little LED strips that are built into the front of the case. Nice ambient lighting. removable dust cover on the top. And you can kind of see, depending on the light, you can see there's the radiator just across there. And then like there's a little gap that goes straight down and you can see the rest of the computer. What else? She's got USB Type-C port on the front. Don't know if I'm ever going to use it, but got that. Hello, Olive, can you please move? We've got inbuilt Wi-Fi in the back. I haven't connected any of the antennas, but I can go Wi-Fi. Got a whole bunch of USB 3.0, and I think those are 2.0 ports up top. Ethernet, all the good stuff. There's the back of the graphics card. We've got display port outputs, so I had to get some adapters for my screens, but that's kind of cool. Oh, and down the bottom, notice how you can't see the power supply. It's hiding in there. There's this whole little channel zone that runs down the bottom there. But it is, oh come on lighting, it's an RM750 from Corsair, and it runs relatively quiet. I think the noisiest part of my computer right now are those two NZXT fans, so looking forward to swapping them out. I'll also show you some of the colors this thing can do. Oh, and we're going to weigh her, and I'll show you how quiet she is. So let's get that done now. Now I might have to put the camera down for this, because this case has no handy dandy handle on the top. Not that I really care too much, but it made doing this part of the video a lot easier. Turn on the scale. Come on, turn on the scale. There you go. Just stop the thing. It just flashed away. It was 6.7 kilos. Really? You're just gonna freaking like go on and off like that? Okay, we may have just seen it. 6.7. So that's nearly half the weight of old mate Stormtrooper over there. It's pretty good. Okay, so I've just plugged her up to power, and I'll show you. This is what the noise level is of this one. Now these fans here will ramp up a little bit at the beginning, and then they should go back down to the silent profile, but this is the average noise level of this one. There we go. Hopefully you could hear the difference on the mic, but these fans do run a heck of a lot quieter, and they're just sticky Mickey. So it'll be pretty hard to see the LEDs up in there. Oh, now that it's booted into the operating system, you can see the NZXT cooler. It's matching the color of the lighting inside the case and here. And if you click the button, you can change the settings. A few different colors. Yeah. Let me close this curtain. I wanted lights before, now I do not. You've got a whole bunch of different colors and patterns. It's kind of cool. And when you have it on these sort of cycling modes on the front, it also cycles inside in the case. Now that won't change color because you have to manually change that from the application inside the operating system. That's not linked up with the case, but I don't really care. And there is the Magma orange color that is the default for this case, and it's the one that I like the look of the most. So it's a nicer warm colouring inside the case. matching up with the NZXT logo. Oy. And yeah, nice and silent. Oh, I also forgot to point out, so there are no physical drives in here, no SSDs, no hard drives. We've got, you can just see the bottom of one of them there, the little M.2 sticks. So that one is the 2 terabyte, which is where all my games are stored on, and all my programs and all that fun stuff. And then just there's a little heat shield, if it'll focus on it. Go and focus. It's that little guy there, that's a heat shield, and underneath that there's a 500 gigabyte M.2 stick, and that's the operating system and everything else. So it's a lot more stealthy, there's less cabling, it just looks a lot tidier than than that. You go from that to this. Beautiful. So hopefully you enjoyed this little sort of comparison video between the two. Olive, don't knock the camera. Now, earlier on in the video I said that this fella here on the benchmarking test scored about 3,500. I tested this one. I'm going to get the photo up so I actually know exactly what it got. I don't want to misquote it. So this fella here got a score of 3,616. This little one here, 10,228. So nearly 3 times the performance of this one, which was lower than an entry-level 2020 computer laptop. This one is scoring right up close to a high-end gaming computer. It's sitting between gaming computer and like high-end. The only thing on those benchmarking tests that would really outperform this are computers running dual graphics cards, like a 2080 Ti versus this 2070 Super. So running 2 of the newer cards will slightly beat this one, but this one is going to be future-proof for a little while. And even though it's not the latest and greatest technology that's available today, this is a hell of a lot better than this. And to me, this feels like I've gone 100 years into the future compared to what I was doing on old Stormtrooper. So it's been fun, Stormtrooper, but we're gonna have to retire you now, and Project Magma will now take your place, doing all of my streaming and gaming and editing. Another cool thing about the RTX cards, they do have a little chip inside the graphics card which you can use for hardware encoding for stream. So you don't have to use your CPU to manage all of that stream data. You can actually have a dedicated little part of the graphics card doing all that for you. So there's even less strain on the rest of the system. So like honestly, this thing just runs really cool, really quiet. Like I think on average in a game, CPU temperatures are around about 30 degrees. And my GPU, it is running a little bit warmer. It's sitting at about 60 to 65 if I'm running a really high-end game. It's not terrible, but I want to make it a bit cooler. So when these new fans come in for the AIO cooler, I'm going to be running them at full speed constantly, like all the rest of the fans on the case. So it vents hot air out of the case faster without being noisy. And I'm also going to work on setting up a custom cooling profile for the graphics card, so it ramps up the speed less, and it might be sitting at a slightly higher RPM, not quite as noisy as the case. But by default, when it's not under load, the fans just turn off, so maybe I'll need to fix that up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload new videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then.